YouTubers, welcome back to the book reading series of The Hobbit. We're on chapter 4 today, which is titled Over Hill and Under Hill. So enjoy. There were many paths that led up into those mountains, and many passes over them. But most of the paths were deceptions and led nowhere or to bad ends. And most of the passes were infested by evil things and dreadful dangers. And those and the hobbit, helped by the wise advice of Edmund, and the knowledge of memory and Gandalf, took the right road to the right pass. Long days after they have climbed out of the valley and left the last homely house lies behind, they were still going up, and up. It was a hard path and a dangerous path. Like looking away and lonely and alone. Now they could look back over the lands they had left. They held behind them, far below, far, far away in the west, with rains of blue and green. Bibble, well, there lay in his own country, ate uncomfortable things. In his little hobbit hole, he shivered. It was getting bitter cold up here, and the wind came through amongst the rocks. Boulders, too, at times came galloping down the mountainsides, unloosed by midday sun upon the snow, and passed among them, which was lucky, while over their heads, which was alarming. The nights were for less and chill. And did not dare the stranger talk too loud. The echoes were uncanny. And the silence seemed to dislike being broken. Zip by the noise of water and the wail of wind and the crack of stone. The summon's going on down below for Bibble. And haymaking is going on and picnics. There'll be harvesting and blackberrying before we even begin to go down outside the street. And others were thinking equally gloomy thoughts, although they had said goodbye to Elrod and High Hope on the midsummer morning. They walked gaily the passage of the mountains, and of flying swift past the lanes below. They had thought of coming to the sacred door in the lonely mountain. Perhaps that next last moon of autumn, and perhaps there'll be a Durin's Day, they had said. Only Gandalf had shaken his head and said nothing. Roses had not passed away for many years, like Gandalf had. And he knew how evil and danger had known and living in the wild, since the dragons had driven men from the lands, and the goblins was been sacred after the battle of the mines of Moria. Even the good plans of wise wizards like Gandalf, and of good friends like Elrod, go astray sometimes, and they often dangerous adventures over the edge of the wild. And Gandalf was wise enough wizard to know it. He knew that something unexpected might happen, and he hardly did hope that they would pass without fearful adventure over those great tall mountains. The lonely peaks and valleys where no king ruled. They did not. All was well until one day they met a thunderstorm. More than a thunderstorm, a thunder battle. You know how terrific a big thunderstorm can be down the land in the river valley, especially at times when two great thunderstorms meet and clash. More terrible still, on thunder and lightning in the mountains at night, when storms came up from the east and west and make war. The lightning splinters on the peaks and rocks shiver. The great clashes split the air and go rolling and tumbling to every cave and hollow. And darkness is filled with the overwhelming noise and sudden night. People had never seen or imagined anything of the kind. They were high up in a narrow place. When a dreadful fall to a dim valley on one side of them, they were sheltering under a hanging rock for the night. They ate beneath a blanket and shook from head to toe. They peeped out. The lightning flashes result that across the valley the some giants were out and were hauling rocks at one another for a game, and catching them and tossing them down into the darkness when they smashed on the trees far below and splintered into little bits with a bang. Then came a wind and the rain, and the wind with the rain and hail in about every direction, so that over the hanging rock was no protection at all. So they regained dressed on their ponies, just standing with their heads down and just between their legs, and some of them were winging with fright. They could hear the trains coughing and shouting over the mountain sides. "This won't do at all," the foreign. We don't get blown off a ground, struck by lightning. We shall be picked up by some giant and kicked sky high for a football. "Well, if you know of anything better, take us there," said Gandalf, who was feeling very grumpy. He was far from happy about the giants himself. The end of their argument was that they sent Lee and Keely to look for a better shelter. They had very sharp eyes, and being the youngest of the Dosses by some 50 years, they usually got these sorts of jobs. When everyone but he could see that it was absolutely no use telling people. There was nothing like looking. If you want to find something, that's all Fortin said to none does this. You certainly usually find something if you look, but it's not always quite the something you will look after. So it proved on this occasion. Two and Keely came calling back, holding on to the rocks in the wind. "We have found a dry cave," they said. Not far out next one, the ponies and all could get inside. "Have you fully explored it?" said the wizard. And then the gaze up in the mountains was suddenly unoccupied. Yes, they said. Although everybody knew they couldn't have been long about it. They had come back too quick. When he's in that big and does not go far back. That of course is the James part of caves. You don't know how far they go back. Sometimes or where it passes behind may lead to. While it's waiting for you inside. But Philly and Keely's news seemed good enough. So they all got up and prepared to move. The wind was howling and thunder still growling, and they had business getting themselves and their ponies along. Still, it was not very far to go. And for long, they came to a big rock, standing outside in the path, where you stepped behind and found a little arch beside the mountain. Yeah, it was just when they get ponies with a squeeze. When they went unpacked and unsettled, they passed under the arch. It was good to hear the wind right outside. Said of all about them. And feel safe from the giants and the rocks. But the wizard was taking notice. He held up his wand. They did that day in Bibbles they had seen so long ago, if you remember. And by its light they explored the cave from end to end. It seemed quite a fair size, but not too large, but mysterious. And a dry floor and some huntable nooks. On one end there was room for the ponies, and there they stood, finally got the chains steaming. And champing in the nosebacks. Running and going in, and to light a fire, the door. Try to close, and get enough and not hear of it. So they spread out the wet things on the floor, and got dry ones out of their bundles. And they made their blankets comfortable, and out their pipes and blew smoke rings. And scared enough turned into different colors, and dancing up either to amuse them. They thought and forgot about the storm. And discussed what each would do with his share of the treasure when they got it. Was what the moment could not seem so impossible. And so they dropped out to sleep one by one. And that was the last time they used the ponies. Packages, tools, paraphernalia that they had brought with them. It turned out to be a good thing that night they had brought a little bit boat with them, after all. But somehow he could not go to sleep for a long time, and when he did sleep, he had very nasty dreams. He dreamed of back in the hole, the back of the cave got bigger and bigger, and wider and wider, and he was very afraid and could not call out anything but lie and look. Then he dreamed the floor gave a giving away, and he was slipping, beginning to fall down, goodness knows where to. At that, he woke up with a horrible start and found that part of his dream was true. A crack had opened at the back of the cave was only a light passage. He was just in time to see the last of the pony's tails just praying into it. And of course, he gave a very loud yell. As loud as a yell a hobbit can give was surprising for the size. Not just the goblins, big goblins. Wait, ugly looking goblins, lots of goblins. Or you can say rocks and blocks. There's sweet dwarf. Nathan to even Bibble. And they were all proud and carried for the crack. If you could say, hinder and fit, but not gained off. Bibbles yelled on them was good, and then I couldn't him up and wide in that splinter for a second, and when goblins came to grab him, there was a terrific flash of lightning in the cave. It smelled like gunpowder, and several of them fell dead. The crack opened with a snap, and Bibble and the dwarfs on the one side of it when it was gained off. Of course, neither of them or the goblins had any idea. The goblins did not wait to find out. They seized Bibble and the dwarfs and hanged them alone. It was deep. Dark as only goblins would have taken to live in the heart of the mountains can see through. The passages they were crossed and tangled in all directions. But the goblins knew their way, as well as you do, to the nearest post office. And the way went down and down, and it was all holdy and scruffy. The goblins were tired of Prince unmercifully, fully, and chuckled and laughed in their almost new voices. And Bibble was more unhappy even than when the troll had picked by his toes. He wished again and again for his nice bright hobbit hole, not for the last time. There came a glitter light before them. The goblins began to sing or croak, giving time to flap their flat feet in the stone and shaking their presence as well. Click, clap, snap, a black crack. Grip, grab, pit, snap. And down, the goblin down. You go, my lad. Crash. Clash, crush, smash. Hammers and tongs, knockers and guns. Pound from underground. Oh, my lad. Swish, smack, whip, crack. Pattern beat. Hammer and beat. Work. No one need to think. All goblins scuffle and goblins laugh. Round and round from far underground, below my lad. It sounds truly terrifying. Walls echoed to the clap, snap, and the crush, smash. And to the ugly laughter of the ho my lad. And during all meaning of the song was only to pain, for now the goblins took out whips and with them was swish smack and set them running as fast as they could run them. And more than one of the doses rolling, yapping them until they get anything. And we tumbled into a big cabin. It was lit by a great red fire in the middle, and light twitches along the walls, and is full of goblins. They are left and stumbled and clapped their hands. When the doses with poor little Bibble at the back and nearest to the whips came running in, while the goblin drivers whooped and crackled. They was behind. The bunnies were already there, huddled in the corner, and they were all the baggages and packages lying broken open, and being numbers by goblins, and drilled by goblins, and wicked by goblins, and go over by goblins. I am afraid that it was the last I ever saw those excellent little ponies, playing a jolly, string little fellow, white fellow, I rode, and then again off, since his horse was not suited for the mountain paths. The goblins eat horses and ponies and donkeys, and other much more dreadful things. And they are always hungry. Just now, however, the prisoners were all thinking of themselves. The goblins changed their hands behind their backs, linked them all together in the light, and tied them to the far end of the cabin. With little Bibble tugging at the rope. There in the shadows, on the far flat stone, and a tremendous goblin with a huge head and armed goblins who were standing around and carrying the axes, bent swords they use. Now goblins were called wicked and light-hearted. They make no beautiful things, but they make many clever ones, like a gentle and mind, as well as any. And the most skilled does this. When they take the trouble, although they are usually untidy and dirty, they use axes, swords, daggers, pickaxes, stones, and also instruments of torture. They make very well. And get other people to make so they decide, prisoners and slaves, and afterwards till they die. For want of air and light, it is not unlikely they invented some of the machines that since troubled the world. Actually, the ingenious devices for killing large numbers of people at once. Wheels and engines. The explosions always delayed them. And also, not working with their own hands more than they could help. But in those days, and those spare parts, they had not advanced, as it's called, so far. They did not think was this, especially, no more than they hate everybody and everything. Particularly the ordering past 14 years. In some parts, wicked choices. Who made alliances with them? I had a special guns against foreign people. Because of the war, which you ever mentioned. But the wish does not come into this tale. Anyway, Robins don't care what who they catch, as long as it's done smart and secret, and the prisoners are not able to defend themselves. Who are these miserable persons? Said the great goblin. Does this and this, said one of the drivers, holding at Bibble's chain, so that he fell forward onto his knees. He found them sheltering in the front porch. What do you mean by it? Said the great goblin, trying to foot in. Up to no good, I warned. Playing on the private business of my people, I guess. Thieves. Some being surprised to learn. Murderers and friends of elves. Not unlikely. Come, what have you got to say? What the doll figure service, he replied. There's mainly applied nothing. What ain't you? What do you expect, I imagine? We have no idea at all. There's nothing from a storm. What's in there? Convenient cave, unused. And there was other thoughts. That inconveniencing goblins and anyway, whatever. That was true enough. Said the big goblin. So you say. Might I ask what you were doing up in the mountains at all? And where you coming from? And where you going to? I bet I would like to know all about you. Do you? That's good. We're in. Okay. In shield. I know too much about you folk already, but let's have the truth. I've prepared something particularly uncomfortable for you. We were on a journey to visit our relatives, our nephews and nieces, and first and second cousins. In the sense of our grandfathers who live on the east side of these truly hospitable and set for in. Not quite knowing what to say at all in a moment. Well, now say that. Not true for not do it all. You should know you heard a little tremendous one, said one of the drivers. Several people were struck by lightning in the cave. And they invaded these creatures that come by law. And they are straight as stones. And so he has not explained this. He held out the sword which one. The sword of which came from the troll's lair. The great goblin gave a truly awful howl of rage, and he looked at it. And all his shoulders clashed their teeth, clashed their shield as they built. He knew the sword at once, and he killed hundreds of goblins in his time, when the fair elves on Goldoland and hunted them in the hills or did battle before the walls. They called it Mortgage Goblin Cleaver. The government simply called it simply Vader. They hated it. I hate worse anyone who prayed it. But it is enough sins. The great goblin said it. Slash them, beat them, bite them, crush them, take them away to dark holes, things, and never let them see the light again. It was such a rage that he jumped off his seat and himself watched it fall in with his mouth open. Just at that moment, all the lights in the cavern went out, and the great fire went off poof into a tower of blue, glowing smoke right up to the roof. As scattered fiercely white sparks amongst the goblins. The yells and napping, looking and gibbering and jabbering howls, growls, and curses, and getting and scraping. They followed were beyond description. Several hundred wild cats and wolves being toasted, totally alive together, would not have compared with it. The sparks were burning holes in the goblins. And as well that now fell from the roof, made the air too thick even for the eyes to see through. Soon they would fall over one another, rolling in heaps on the floor, fighting and kicking and fighting if they hadn't gone mad. Suddenly a sword flashed in the sunlight. Bibble saw it go for the great goblin. When he stood dumbfounded in the middle of his rage, he fell dead. The goblin's shoulders lay before the sword, swinging into the darkness. The sword went back into the shed. Follow me quick, said the voice. Peace and quiet. And before Bibble understood what had happened, he was trying along again, as fast as he could try, to end the line, down more dark passages, when the yells of the goblin hall glowing faint right behind him. A pale light was leading them on. Quicker! Quicker! Said the voice. No torches was needed. Half a minute, said Dory. Who was at the back next to Bibble? A decent fellow. He made the hobbit scramble on his shoulders and especially good with his tiny hands. Then off they all ran on the run. And then clink clink a change, and many a stumble, since they had no hands to save themselves with. Not for a long time did they stop. And by that time they must have been right down in the mountain's heart. Then Gandalf lit up his wand. Of course it was Gandalf. Well, just then they were too busy to ask how he got there. And took out his sword again. And again it flashed in the dark by itself. And burned with the rains, then it did gleam of goblins rebel. Now it was bright as blue flame for daylight in killing the great horde the cave. It made no trouble whatever of cutting through the goblins' chains, setting all the prisoners free as quickly as possible. This soldier's name was Gamelin the Full Hammer. You remember? Goblins just called it Beater. Anyways, then better if possible. Look at this. Two have been saved. And Gandalf, I brought it along as well, snatching it from unterrified guards. Gandalf has one of the most saints. And though he could not do everything, he could do a great deal for friends in a thick corner. Are we all here? Said he, and just ordered back to Fort Inn with the bell. Let's see. 1, that's 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Well, clearly. Here they are. 12, 13. There's Mr. Baggins, 14. Well, it might have been worse. And then again, it might be a great deal better. No ponies and no food. And no claim knowing where we are. The whole is a hungry ones this fine. On we go. On they went. Gandalf was quite right. They began to hear goblin noises and audible cries from behind in the passages they had come through. I set them on faster than ever, and the poor Bibble could not possibly go half as fast, but doses could roll on the treacherous night. I can tell you, when they have to. They took it a turn to carry him on their backs. Still, goblins go faster than doses. And the goblins knew, and these goblins knew their way better. They made the pass themselves. And they were madly angry. And that do what they could the doses. Heard their cries and howls, came closer and closer. Soon they could hear the flap of the goblin feet. Many feet. It's only seen just in the last corner. And blinking their torches. We seen behind them in the tunnel they were following, and they were getting deadly tired. Oh, why did I believe my hobbit hole, said poor Mr. Baggins. Up and down on Bloodburn's back. Why did I brain Richard, then the hobbit and just answered, poor Bloodburn. I was wet. As I did alone, with the sweat dripping down his nose, and seeing terror. At this point, Gandalf fell behind and fought in with him. They turned a sharp corner. About turn, he shouted. Please look for him. There was nothing else to be done. The goblins did not like it. They came running in the corner in full cry. The man Goblin Cleaver, a vault hammer, lying cold and bright, right into the stone's eyes. The ones in front dropped their torches, gave one yell before they were killed. Yep, one's behind, yelled still more, leaped back, knocking over those that were lying behind after them. Right it and beat it, they shrieked. Soon they were all in confusion. Most of them were hunting at the way they come. It's quite a one line for any of them there to turn that corner. That time the doses had gone on again. A long way on into the dark tunnels of the goblins for them. when the goblins discovered that they had their torches and slipped on soft shoes. And they chose out the very quickest runners of the sharpest ears and ice. These ran forward, the swiftest weasels in the dark, and with hardly any noise to bats. That's why neither Bibble or the Dusts, nor even Gandalf, heard them coming, nor did they see him. When they were seen by the goblins, then turned up suddenly behind. When Gandalf was wand, gave out a faint light, held the doors as they went along. And suddenly, Dewey landed back again, Hey Bibble, and Scrap from behind the dark. He shouted and fell. And the hobbit rolled off his shoulders into the blackness, humped his head in the high rock, and I mean nothing more. So that is chapter 4, guys. Next time we're looking at chapter 5. Goodbye.